Nena Sam Obioha, an award-winning author, public speaker, trainer, and chef. Her passion as a talented writer has led to publishing of 2 amazing books, Wedding Night Chronicles and My Refreshing Thanksgiving Experience. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you so much.
So we're going to be discussing the Innocence To Intimacy, Wedding Night Chronicles. And I was just reading this book, and the first thing that hit me is how were you able to get 10 different authors to come together in a room and say, you know what, let us write this story together. 10. You have, permit me to quickly read out some names. So you have Ayomide Oke, you have Busola, you have Dara, you have Marianne, you have Temi Tokme, you have Wura, you have yours. You also wrote in this, like it's a collective of amazing authors. How did you do that? How did that happen?
All right, before we begin, if you don't mind, I'd like to spell out their names in full.
Okay,
You know,
cool.
just so that I'm not taking the credit for the work that 10 people came together to do.
Yeah, please,
right?
go ahead.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead.
we have Ayomide Oke.
Yes.
We have Busola Ogunbadewa.
Okay.
We have Dara Okeowo, Efwe Anakwe, Foluke Aino, Marian Wanze, Nena Sam Obioha, that's me.
Yes.
Temitope Bright, Tobiloba Ogunbanjo, Wura
Adeyemi.
Adeyemi. So that's all 10 of us. Now,
Wow.
how did we meet? To answer your question, in 2020, God said to me during COVID, you know how it is where there was so much despair and everyone was praying for a word, you know, and some people were just wondering what would happen, has the word come to an end? And I wanted God to speak to me specifically. And one word God gave to me was, he said to me that my next level was dependent on my joining a Christian women community. At the time, I knew the convener of the group because I used to work in the bank. I was in Diamond Bank, then Access. I left Access in 2021.
Okay.
And so I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know she had a community at the time, right? But I used to serve her in bank. I was the branch manager at the time. Okay. And so I wasn't close enough to know her on the internet. And so while I was praying, one day I was scrolling through social media and I stumbled on her page and I also stumbled on that of another woman. But I didn't want to lean towards this because I knew the person. I wanted to be sure that that was it. And I forgot about it. 2021, I started this branch by Eco Atlantic.
Okay.
The Access Bank by Eco Atlantic. I started it.
Oh, wow.
And so I moved to that branch and she came. So when I moved from branch to branch, customers who were familiar with me would follow me. And so she came there one day and she said to me that, oh, what are you doing? What's happening? And I told her about it. And she said, oh, I will invite you to join a community.
Wow. And
that's how I joined. And so fast forward to one day, she was taking a training on the group and she started asking us, challenging us to just do stuff for us. Tekpo Olagbegi Circle of Influence is a mentorship community. You find them on Instagram.
Okay.
The convener is Temitope Olagbegi. She's a marriage coach. She's a counselor, a clarity coach. So many things. You find that on her social media handle. And she was training us on that day, I and a group of other women on WhatsApp. And she started challenging us. And I saw people who were doing 9 to 5 and they were doing a lot of amazing things. And I was just saying to myself that I'm just here, I'm just doing my banking job. And I asked myself, after I leave banking, what else will be left? And so I started writing down things I wanted to achieve.
Okay.
I did not know that I had written down the title of this book, Wedding Night Chronicles, not the Innocence to Intimacy part, Wedding Night Chronicles. I knew God wanted me to do a blog, do a circle, do all of those things, but I didn't know it was going to, translate into this. Right? And so I wrote it then and I forgot. And I knew when I was getting married that I was going to inspire others with my story. But I did not know it was going to come in form of a book, in form of all of this that it has metamorphosed into. And so last year, in 2024, we had a group, a subgroup of this same Tekpo Olagbegi Circle of Influence. It's called the Mature Minds, where married women come together to talk about sex, intimacy, and, how to navigate all of that. Because, again, you never stop learning.
True.
And so conversation around the challenges people go through, especially those who were virgins, right, go through, and the tension that it creates, the conflict, if you're not careful, that it creates in the marriage, came up. And I realized that a lot of people had similar stories as mine. And so I decided to create a link. Of course, I took permission from the convener to say, this is what I'm thinking. It aligns with the things God had said to me. Do I have your permission to do this? And she said, oh, fine. And so I created that link and I said, everyone who wanted to do this project should come on. And so we came in 4 months, we pushed out this book.
Wow. All right. That is an interesting story. It's a rare one to actually even listen to. It's a family show, so I'm going to be very careful with the words that I use.
Thank you. Thank
Oh,
you.
yes, I'll be
Thank
very
you.
careful with the words I use
I
because
get that. I
there are
get
ways
that.
there's some things I really want to talk about, and I'll just be
Absolutely.
very careful.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the Innocence to Intimacy is a collection of stories by 10 different brides. Real stories, guys, real stories, and they're sharing their personal experience about their wedding night. Now, I love the way the book has been structured. Of course, it first starts with how you meet the meeting, and then it goes from there to their relationship, and then it talks about the wedding, and then the traditional, the night of the wedding, and then you have an advice. Each author has
Yes.
been gives an advice to the youth and people who are getting married or in marriage. Now, let's start with the first one because this is your story. The couple of questions I have here. The first thing for me is I noticed that your relationship was more long distance based. I'm someone that does not really believe in long distance relationship, first of all, because why will I be here and the person I love is out there? It's like I'm chatting with AI.
I agree.
That's how it feels to
I
me.
agree. I
So
agree.
for you, who you're not in Lagos at the time, he was in Lagos. Just give me a little,
Background.
there. What really happened? How was it for you talking to, spending more time on the phone?
All right, so I think that one thing that helped was our relationship didn't start on a virtual platform. This is not to say that relationships that you start on a virtual platform don't thrive. But I think what helped was there was a background. My husband and my cousin, who I met him through, were classmates in the university.
Okay.
And so I know someone who knew him well enough to vouch for his person. And this person has known him over a period of 6 years.
Wow.
And so beyond my cousin who was male, because a lot of things, that men sometimes discount some little details here and there. But I also had aunties who were in the same university
Okay.
at the time. At the time when I'm speaking about, I didn't meet him when he was in school. He had left school. He had started working when we met.
Okay.
But there were people who knew him who could vouch for his character. And then coincidentally, two of his cousins also were in Ibadan at the time. And they were also in the church my parents used to attend.
Wow.
So I had a sense of the kind of family he was from. I had a sense of who he was. And then so to answer the question about long-term, distance relationship, we did a lot of phone calls. And it wasn't a one call a day thing.
Okay.
We talked multiple times during the day. There was room for friendship. The first time we met was when I came to Lagos for a vacation job. So we knew each other, right? We had spoken. So we had like 2 first-time meetings where we had one-on-one conversations.
All right.
And so the phone calls were, just catch up. And then also, in between, he would visit Ibadan.
All right.
And then see me.
Okay, so there is a very interesting line with most of the stories that I read here about what happened on their wedding night. And it seems to me that most of the brides here, they take virginity as a prize, as something, as a treasure to keep. Is virginity really a treasure? Because think about it, there are so many men today that have come outside to complain about how their women do not perform during sex properly and all that. But is virginity really a treasure? Is it?
All right. I would like to say to even start from the last point you raised. You can go into a marriage without being a virgin and still not be able to perform. Yes, there's a sense that because you're a virgin, there's a sense that you are a novice, you don't know anything.
Okay.
However, we live in an age where there's information available to you. And so you can learn anything you want to learn in a controlled environment, obviously, because again, some people can say they want to go to porn because they want to learn, right? But then there are wholesome ways to learn these things. Same way, not everyone was born to know to cook. You put 2 and 2 together and you learn. And so for the man, there's a role you play in supporting your partner, right? Especially if the man himself, because there are also men, some of them, there's some stories here that also have spouses that were virgins as well. And so there's a place of learning that comes from it. And to be honest, Christian communities don't do enough to empower people and teach them the things they need to know. And so that's why we came together to create this book. Is virginity a thing? It is a thing. Because God designed sex strictly for the confines of marriage.
No, so let's not use sex. Let's
Okay.
use more of intimacy.
Okay, okay.
But my question is it a prize, really? Is it something, is it a treasure you should keep? Is it something you should, protect? Because I know a lot of, you hear young women saying, oh, I want to protect my virginity. I want to keep this. I want to keep that. I don't want anybody to touch me. It's a lot in the story. It's a lot in the book. But I'm just saying, is it really a treasure?
Yeah, and so, I'm going to go back to the Bible because that's the foundation for what it is we're doing. When the scripture says we all are to present ourselves before God, our bodies before God, as pleasing sacrifice, holy and acceptable before God, which is our reasonable service.
Okay.
Why do you want to present something that everybody has seen, everybody has had a taste of? When people, if you look at different examples in the Bible of people bringing sacrifices, it was well thought out. It was worthy. And so one of the things I say to people is, in deciding to keep your virginity, and I don't want us to make it a woman thing.
Okay.
It goes both ways. Men also ought to keep themselves for the married bed. Because when you keep yourself, you're not comparing yourself with anyone. And so to go back to the story of sacrifices, right? When people want to bring sacrifices, say you want to give your supervisor at work a birthday gift or a Christmas gift, you go all out.
True.
You give them something that is worthy. And so first and foremost, your virginity is a sacrifice to God, first of all. Your husband or your wife are just beneficiaries of your decision to obey God and keep yourself. Another thing it does for you, it saves you a lot of emotional drama.
Okay.
Because research has shown, this is not just me talking Christianese, research has shown that people who go into marriages being chaste, right, have a sense of a better sense of commitment.
Okay.
Because you're not comparing your spouse with something that you haven't tried.
All right.
That's one. The spiritual implication also is with everyone you have had intimacy with, you have been joined to the person. And to even go to, let's say we're talking science, science will also show you that there's an emotional attachment, and that's why they say Okafor's law. There's an emotional attachment or bond that is built with everyone that you have intimacy with. Now, I know that mistakes happen, right? This is not to bash people who have chosen to, and who made a mistake or, because they did not know better. But again, we will not say because we're trying to make everyone else feel good and comfortable, the community who really needs this doesn't have the support.
Okay.
I saw something on Instagram some months ago. It was this public figure, I won't be mentioning her name.
That's okay.
And she talked about being 37 and being a virgin and how people bash you, people laugh at you, people say all sorts. People even doubt that you're a virgin. And so the stories of people like me and the other people shows you that you can be beautiful, you can have your life going for you, you can be a Christian,
Wow.
and you can decide that you want to wait. I have 3 children.
Wow.
I have worked for how many years, and I'm doing well in my job. So that you chose to wait does not make you a swagbe.
All right. So finally, just before we head to the kitchen, because we'll be going to the kitchen, how do people get access to this in case they want to buy it? Because there are a lot of amazing stories in the book, and I'm wondering, and I'm sure there are people at home who would like to have a copy of this. How can they get this book?
Beautiful. And so beyond, they can get the book on my handle, light_shining in the dark.
Okay.
Right? So people can send a DM to that. There's also a link in my bio. That's one. Number 2 is beyond getting the book. The mandate God has given me is to create a circle, a community for people who need counsel like this. Because beyond studying the book, sometimes you need hand-holding. And so I just created that handle yesterday. It's called the Chastity Circle.
Okay.
So you can follow the Chastity Circle, and you can also follow light_shining in the dark to get updates.
All right, all right. Thank you very much for that one. That is all that we can take at this point.
Thank you.
But that is not all. That's not all. We're going to take you to the kitchen.